Who is cheaper, the British Union or the European Union? Because according to this man, everything was going to be made cheaper by Brexit. This is Jacob Rees-Mogg, and he's a Brexiteer who said this.
Lots of countries around the world trade on a WTO basis. We can prosper on that basis. We would set our own tariffs. We could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight away by getting rid of the protectionist anti-trade tariffs that the EU imposes.
This is Paris. I recently visited a beautiful city, great food, and it's cheap. In fact, so cheap that I was shocked when I went into a pharmacy and realised everything was about a third off and no empty shelves. So what else is cheaper in Europe than the UK? This is Zara. It's a clothing store that you'll find all over the UK and you'll be familiar with, and it is Spanish. Zara is charging British shoppers as much as 50% more than in Spain. A linen blend tunic dress costs a British shopper about $49.99, and that's about $58.70 in euros. Zara in Germany, France, Italy and Ireland, the price is €49.95 euros. And in Spain, only $39.95. A men's hoodie, $45.99 in the UK, that's equal to about €53.99 euros. In Spain, it's $35.95, that's about 30 quid, 62. In Spain, meaning a shopper in Manchester is charged 50% more than in Madrid for the same item. Now it becomes even more important to remember about this thing called the exchange rate, so the price of the pound versus that of the euro. The exchange rate has been knackered, a slow decline over decades, but Brexit added yet another hammer blow. It knocked 20% off the pound, and that has never recovered. That means that the price of fuel goes up if we're purchasing it from Europe. It means it goes up if we're purchasing the fuel from the United States. And so does everything else. And what does that mean for you and me? That means less purchasing power and higher prices. If the exchange rate had stayed pre-Brexit level and the barriers, the trade barriers, the checks had not gone up, we would be having cheaper food, cheaper clothing and cheaper footwear. But of course, what did Rees-Mogg say?
Look at the forecasts made by Patrick Minford and his team at Cardiff University and assume that we cut the cost of food, clothing and footwear, which face very high tariffs and non-tariff barriers inside the European Union. That increases people's disposable income, makes the poorest in society better off, and would lead to an economic boom.
But of course, we aren't facing an economic boom, and we're not seeing cheaper clothing, we're not seeing cheaper footwear, we're not seeing cheaper food. It's all gone up in price. And here we have another example, Decathlon. Decathlon, a French store, partly blames Brexit for the markups on its e-bikes. That can be up to £250 pricier in the UK than in France. A Riverside electric bike in the UK is £1,299.99. That's equal to €1,525. But in France, Spain and Italy, the price for the exact same item is €1,199. The e-bike buyer at Decathlon's Brighton store is therefore paying €326 more, or £278 more than if they'd popped across the channel and bought it in Dieppe. And this is what Decathlon had to say, and I will be using a French accent.
I'm French! Why do you think I have this outrageous accent?
The UK's exit from the European Union has made it more expensive to import stock. It also meant that Decathlon UK had to expand the size of the supply team in order to deal with the additional administration, costs and duties associated with Britain's exit from the customs union. In the UK specifically, we have the obvious challenges involved in dealing with constantly changing exchange rates, coupled with the post-Brexit burden of having to pay import duties twice on a number of products, once as the goods enter the EU and once again when they enter the UK. And what did our friend from an Indiana Jones movie say?
What are the biggest tariff areas under the customs union? Food, clothing and footwear. Who spends the highest percentage of their income on food, clothing and footwear? The poor, thank you.
Next is IKEA, a company that is spread across the whole of the EU and within the UK, originally from Sweden. First of all, a Billy bookcase. The basic version in the UK is 50 quid, equal to €58.70. In Spain it's €59, France €59.99. So almost no difference, but in Germany it was €55. So a few quid cheaper than the UK. Next, Coupang. 150 quid in the UK, equal to 176 euros. Germany and Spain, 149 euros, 15% cheaper than in the UK. IKEA's best-selling two-seater sofa, a Kippan in dark grey, £279. That's 327 euros in the UK, but 259 in Germany and 249 in France. So shoppers in Britain are paying almost a third more for a basic IKEA sofa than those in France. Here's what IKEA had to say, and I promise I'm not going to do a Swedish accent. We are not immune to the current macroeconomic developments facing businesses, retailers and the public at large. Many IKEA countries have seen prices change. However, the changes will differ from country to country, as prices are influenced not only by the raw material prices but also by transport, logistical costs and local market conditions.
The customs union is a protectionist racket that protects continental European businesses at the cost of British consumers. It puts up the price of food, of clothing, of footwear. These hit the poorest in our country the most because the largest portion of their spending goes on food, clothing and footwear compared to the richer in society.
There you have it, Oxford educated, privately educated, and as thick as two short planks, and has followed an idiot economist by the name of Patrick Minford. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me that I am wrong. I am curious to know what you think, because I cannot believe that this man is in charge of trying to build up the economy through Brexit. It's beyond belief, and he is so off the mark. Frankly, he should have been...
You're fired!
One of the things I would expect that you would hear from some of the Brexiteers is, oh, well, we've had all these other issues that have taken place. According to them, we should be ahead of the EU. That was what was said all the way through the campaigns. We are going to be better off. We're going to be better than the EU. We are worse by miles in just about every sector. And of course, that protection racket does protect the EU. It doesn't protect us anymore. We're seeing no benefits. Let's have a look at JD Sport. Nike React Visions men's trainers. £120 in the UK, that's 141 euros. But in every other European market looked at, the price is 135 euros. So the UK price was more expensive, but only by 4%. So for many of you, you might be thinking, well, is there an angle to play here? Is it possible to actually go over to Europe, buy a lot of cheap goods, and actually mean that you've saved money, plus you've got a holiday? In theory, that's possible. But to be honest, there are problems. And the problems are once again, Brexit. So if you're a holidaymaker, you're liable for taxes and duties on all goods bought over the £390 allowance. You are allowed to only spend £390. If you spend more than £390 in shops elsewhere in Europe this summer, get ready to pay customs duties and VAT on your return, which could easily add 20% or more to the price paid. So a simple example would be if you spend 500 euros on a suit or a dress while in an EU country, you would then have to pay £99 in duties and VAT when you came back into the UK. But if you live in Northern Ireland, then it's completely different. The promise is treated as if it's inside the EU for customs purposes. That means the tax on an item of adult clothing bought in Barcelona and taken to Belfast is zero. In fact, the HMRC website says you do not pay duty or tax on alcohol, tobacco, and most other goods you bring into Northern Ireland from the EU. This really does feel like something out of a Monty Python sketch. You've got this insanity of destruction that's being chosen by 52% of the population, led by a bunch of morons who are just going around telling complete and utter lies, both before Brexit and now after. Whenever questions have come up about the difficulties facing Britain at the moment, the one thing that none of the Tory leaders will talk about is that Brexit is causing the damage. However, there has been a few exceptions. The Mayor of the Midlands, the West Midlands, Andy Street, came out and said Brexit's been bad for business, and it's not too much of a surprise. Economist Andrew Possum, who used to work at the Bank of England, also said that one of the consequences of Brexit is that you will see a decline in car manufacturing. And in the West Midlands, it's one of the biggest employers in the area. 10,000 jobs at least are associated directly with the car industry in the West Midlands. And of course, with all the imports and exports and all the hassle and red tape, well, unfortunately, that industry is going to decline, and we are seeing that across the UK. Thanks again to everyone. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and YouTube supporters who keep this channel growing and going. Be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. It's free, and if you want to give a little, that means a lot. Thanks for listening. Bye.